Music, dance, theater. It's time to take a seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez. Hear from performers, producers, presenters, and creators who enrich our lives in the performing arts. Who's on stage? Here is Tom Alvarez to introduce you.
Hello, and welcome to On the Aisle with yours truly, Tom Alvarez. My guest on today's show is Shannon Forsell, the artistic director and CEO of the Cabaret, a downtown Indy venue which has been recognized for being the undisputed Midwest home for Cabaret Entertainment, featuring some of the biggest names on Broadway and the worlds of jazz and international music. The night spot is a jewel in the crown of the local performing arts scene. Join me now as I go on the aisle for my conversation with Shannon. Shannon Forsell. What a sight for sore eyes. I'm so happy that you agreed to come on my podcast knowing just how damn busy you are.
Oh my gosh, you've been there from the very beginning in my life, as we have talked about before. Mm-hmm. And for a very long time, when I was actually a performer, to then when I started to manage the cabaret. So we've gone through a lot together, many years.
I will never forget you in Evita, in that beautiful white gown, up in the balcony with your arms stretched out.
Designed by Barry Doss, one of our favorite costume designers. Yeah.
Oh, the American Cabaret.
American Cabaret Theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what all began.
And that I was 33 years old then, Tom, and now I'm 58, if that tells you something about how long we've known each other.
For those who don't know what the hell we're talking about, Shannon is it's a different title than just artistic director. Tell me your title.
Artistic director and CEO.
Okay. At one point, before you became big time, you were like producing manager or something like that.
I have no idea. It's been 16 years, so it's like, right? It's changed a lot over time.
16 years?
16 years. Yeah. It's 16 years. I started with American Cabaret Theater. They hired me to be a marketing person in October of 2008. Mm-hmm. And then in the January of 2009 is when they informed me the American Cabaret Theater would need to restructure, and would I help them? And then the cabaret was born. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask for my listeners, give us a thumbnail sketch of the organization and its beginnings up to now.
So the cabaret came out of a restructuring of American Cabaret Theater, which had been around since 1988, and I was in their resident company. So I started out as a performer with American Cabaret Theater, and then was hired to do some working with them to do some marketing later on in life, after I retired from performing. And that was in 2008. And then in 2009, the board determined that they needed to restructure. This had been several years after the loss of Claude McNeil, who was their founder and artistic director, who hadn't been there in a little while, who had retired. And that was after the housing crisis and one of the first big economic crunches when times changed. So they asked if I would help them restructure American Cabaret Theater and to still honor the cabaret part of American Cabaret Theater. And then I had been on a creative renewal with the Arts Council as an artist, and one of my creative renewal projects was to go to cabarets in New York City. And this was the year before. Unrelated, I had no idea any of this stuff was going to happen. And I had gone to the small cabaret rooms and said, why don't we have one of these in Indy? So when they came and said, do you have an idea for how we could restructure? I'm like, yes, I have an idea. This is what I think we don't have. And then the cabaret was born, and we started out in what was called the Connoisseur Room at that time for a year, and they were so gracious to let us use the room for a year to just see if this was going to work. Was this business model going to work? Was this going to be the case? And then created a long-term partnership with the Columbia Club that was created by a board chair who was a member. And then in 2017, we started to build our own space at 924 North Pennsylvania and moved in 2018. And we've been there since.
And our history began with the Athenaeum. I was going there as a reviewer, which I still am.
Yeah.
And I've followed the trajectory of the organization since then. So over time, I continued to review the Cabaret during its different reinventions, right? Mm-hmm. And now, of course, I get to do my part in promoting Indianapolis as a cultural attraction. Mm-hmm. Many of my celebrity guests have been through here, either with the ISO, the Palladium, your place, Feinstein's up at Carmichael.
Right.
And, of course, the ISO.
Yeah.
So I haven't had to go to New York to get grab interviews. Now that they come here and I have Zoom, who knew?
Yeah,
so
right?
It's really cool.
It's awesome.
But the thing I love the most is that my celebrity guests talk about their experiences here, so I don't have to self-consciously promote Indianapolis. They do it. Each and every time I have talked with them, well, what was Indianapolis like for you? What was your experience? They just rave, and I'm sure you connect with all of the people that you book here, and I'm sure you get that all the time, do you not?
Yeah, we really do, and it's so wonderful.
Give me some examples.
So we have two that just happened, and it's amazing, because so many folks that are on the coast, New York or LA, they don't really have necessarily a deep understanding of Indianapolis, so they just have an impression, and it's not necessarily, I think, on
flyover.
Yeah, it's not a bucket list place for these performers to go, right? So that's been a conscious thing for us to make sure that when they're here, they're treated in such a special way that they remember Indianapolis and want to come back to Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. And so Titus Burgess was just here, and God love him, we live streamed him signing the wall, and he said that he had a love affair with performing but was in couples counseling with it. So he said, thank you to Indianapolis for helping me grow my love for performing again, and said he went back to his agent and said he had two highlights of his year, Carnegie Hall and the Cabaret. Wow. That was Titus Burgess, a major TV
For those
star,
who don't know who is Titus
Yeah, he's
Burgess?
the star of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and been in major Broadway shows. So he's been in a lot of TV shows. He was just in Moulin Rouge, and so he's a television and Broadway star. He's numerous other shows too. But a lot of folks know him from TV most recently because that's been a big network for him. But an amazing talent. And then Laura Benanti, who people also know from both Broadway and television. She had her show with us and told her agent she only wants to work at the Cabaret. So she left a really wonderful testimonial. And then they just end up loving Indianapolis too, and not realizing that it's a really hip place. And so a lot of them, numerous folks have said, hey, it's like being in New York, the audiences, when they perform. It's like being in New York, only the audiences are nicer. So it's a great place for them. And now a lot of them have started to use the Cabaret as a place to workshop their show.
Wow.
So they bring
like Brooke Shields did.
Yeah, to bring it here, to test it out on our audiences. That will let them know if the show is and isn't working.
That's like in the theater, they used to try out shows in Boston, and now it's Chicago and other places.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So Cabaret performers need to do the same thing.
And so what do they tell you about Indianapolis audience? Do they... In my experience, a lot of people feel Indianapolis audiences are very sophisticated.
Yes, that's exactly what they feel like. That's what they said. They're just like New York audiences. They're hip. They get it. Yeah. And so they get it. They've been trained to get it for many years now, and so they feel like...
So they can throw an F-bomb around if they want to.
Yeah, sure.
They're not going to... People aren't going to walk out or...
Yeah, and so, and that's what's hard because Indianapolis is known as a red state per se. Some folks don't always understand that we're still a major metropolitan city with major metropolitan sensibility.
Exactly.
So it's a great place for them to work on their material.
The list is long. I wouldn't even know where to begin to drop all the names of the huge names that have come through here. And it's mind-boggling what you have created. But it took some time.
Sure.
For word to spread. The thing that many of the arts organizations have in common, like the ISO, which I mentioned, and the Palladium, they actually have that Ellen Henkel created a job as a concierge.
Yeah.
And created this job so that the idea was from the time you make your phone call on the reservations, from that moment till when you leave, you've had a total experience.
Right. You're well taken care of with Hoosier Hospitality.
Yeah, and that's worked for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have a relationship with the Jazz Kitchen still, do you not?
We do.
And that's part of the experience. But you've worked out in your great business model a way to survive by being a not-for-profit, right? And subcontracting the food out to somebody.
Yes.
And isn't that a big problem for cabarets failing around the country because of partnering in a hotel like you were with the Columbia?
Yeah. Yes.
And it's no secret that was part of why you left.
Well, yeah, because it's not their business model, right, to do your food and beverage, and food and beverage is ultimately the most complicated piece of it. If you want to know, I mean, it's much more complicated to have all these people arriving at the same time and all wanting to eat, and you really have to have people that understand how to present food in that manner versus at a restaurant or an event where you're putting
and
18 things of chicken, right?
And serving it.
Yeah. So Jazz Kitchen spent 30 years perfecting that because their business model is that they make money off of the food. We make money off of the tickets. So we knew that that's not something we know how to do. But that's the challenge for any cabaret, really, that's not a nonprofit. To have the cabaret experience, you only have a small room. So you have a very limited number of seats you can sell. And there's a price point where it becomes unattainable and not accessible for people. So you're always giving that dance of trying to give them the biggest star you can give them, but still have it be at a ticket price in some section that is accessible to people, and that's always our biggest challenge. And now the more we have big stars, the more people want big stars, and then it becomes difficult to even top ourselves sometimes. So, but the Jazz Kitchen, their food experience, their food is amazing. Their personnel are all amazing. We've just had nothing but an amazing relationship with them from the get-go, and
because they've been doing it for 30 years.
They know what they're doing.
And
they
the
know how to
Jazz
do
Kitchen
it.
is still alive, if not still flourishing.
Its
brand is.
It's one of the best jazz clubs in the country.
Yeah.
It's one of the top 10.
Well, it makes complete sense that two such organizations would team up.
Yeah, and we present some jazz too, and so there is, jazz and cabaret are kind of cousins a little bit. They're both art forms that predominantly are presented in a small space. So there's a level of engagement, and cabaret artists tell a story through storytelling and song, and jazz artists tell a story sometimes through their improvisation and also in song.
Well, you try to serve a lot of people's tastes because you have series. So talk about the series for those who've never been.
Yeah, we want to be sure we're serving our community. So we have our signature series is, of course, our Broadway series. That's really how we started, and that's if we only presented Broadway artists, we could always just sell out. That's people really like to see the Broadway stars.
Since you're not for profit, you've got to answer to your donors, and
right. Well, and we also want to serve.
You're a 501c3, and
but we love all of our series. The most popular series is the Broadway series, and then we have our jazz series, which we've also been doing for many years, and we have our Crystal DeHaan International series. Our Broadway series is the Glick Philanthropies Broadway at the Cabaret series, and then we have the Crystal DeHaan International series. We have our jazz at the Cabaret series. Then we do our outdoor free concerts in the summer. The alley sessions take place in the alley in the summer, and those spotlight local performers, local artists. We've been mostly a place that presented national performers, but we have world-class performers right here in our own backyard too. So we are starting to expand the amount of local artists. It's just getting artists that also have the cabaret sensibility, and so that's taken some years for people to see it and understand how to do cabaret, and it's not just a gig. So we've started to create that through our Artists in Residence and our Incubator series, where we help people create cabaret shows that are local artists.
And then, of course, you have educational programs, and you have a partnership with Ball State University.
Yeah, we have a deep partnership with them.
And I have reviewed those students. many times, and I always walk away from that knowing that some of those people I'm going to see on Broadway someday.
Yeah, and you do. They.
Have you tracked them? How many people? A lot of them do go on to New York. At least they try.
Absolutely,
right?
they do, and a lot of them go on to do other things.
I mean, at Ball State, they showcase in Chicago and New York now, don't they?
Yeah, they go on to Broadway. There's folks that were in Postmodern Jukebox. They do other things as well. Yeah. One of our intern, Tatum Langley, is in the national tour of Postmodern Jukebox right now. So there's other things that they do as well related to it, which is terrific.
And of course, you have that collaboration with what's his name, Bill Jenkins. Mm-hmm. He's brilliant. What he's done at Ball
Absolutely.
State. And,
Totally.
And is what's the name of the big star who's attached to that program?
Sutton Foster.
Is she still doing that?
She still works with them, and her music director, who's a big music director on Broadway, Michael Rafter, is the person who helps teach those kids cabaret.
Mm-hmm. Throw around some of the names that come to mind over the years, just for those who've never been to the cabaret, my listeners in general, around the country. Let's drop some names of some of the people
that have come to the cabaret.
Yeah, over the years.
Sure.
There's so many. I don't even know where you've begun.
We're lucky, and we do have on our website a place where you could see everyone that's performed, past performers of the cabaret. So, what's interesting about this is we try to get them right at an important time in their life. And so a lot of times we will have gotten them just before they got really famous. So Leslie Odom Jr.'s first cabaret was at American Cabaret Theater.
I have a photo with him.
Yeah. So some of those folks are...
He's just on Bombshell.
Yeah, and he's obviously
the
was
TV
the star
series,
of Hamilton.
For the listeners, I was critiqued by somebody on Apple or one of the servers, and they said, "Tom, you sound like an insider. You got to tell people who these people are."
Right. So so Leslie Odom Jr. was the star of Hamilton on Broadway, and that catapulted him into great fame, obviously. But he was also on the TV show Smash, which will be coming to. That's the Broadway version of Smash is going to go to Broadway. So he has a big name for himself because of that as well. Folks might know Billy Porter, who has been a major Broadway star, but now is also a big television star with his work on television.
And of course, Kinky Boots.
And Kinky Boots is what made him famous.
Did he win a Tony?
Yes, on Broadway. Okay. So that was his work, and he paved the way for a lot of artists.
And now he's a fashion diva.
And now he's a fashion diva. And so he set a kind of a trend with that.
Yeah, gender bending.
Yeah, so we had Eric McCormick, who is Will of Will and Grace this past fall. And then there's a lot of folks that don't know that people have this other side of them. Malcolm Jamal Warner, who people will know from The Cosby Show and now recently 911, and The Resident, also is a big jazz spoken word artist and actually has a Grammy for his work, but people don't necessarily know that widespread, and he performed his newest album.
Don't forget Megan
Hilty.
Yeah.
Cheyenne Jackson. Megan Hilty's back on Broadway.
No, I met her name. Maybe there's the name. Well, Will and Grace.
Megan Mullally.
Yeah.
Megan Mullally of Will and Grace. She came with her.
And her husband was in it too. And
Nick Offerman was there with her. He just came with her because they toured together.
And when I saw the show, he actually did a couple songs with them too, as I recall.
Yeah, and we've had big jazz names. Esperanza Spalding came and did a very intimate show with us last year, and that was amazing. So people that
Cheetah Rivera.
Yes, which we were blessed to be able to be one of the last audiences. And then, of course, just recently, Gavin Creel, who is a major Broadway star, just passed away, and we were the last place he performed his solo work. So, and he donated his suit to us. He just left his suit with us because we display some things. And so little did we know at that time that would become so meaningful to have that. But that was very unexpected and a big loss to the entire Broadway and musical community.
And of course, she was in Korn, and she played the cabaret, and no one in town knew who she was.
Alex Newell.
So you had to reach out to people and say, "Hey, we're going to give you a comp because we want to fill the house." And I saw her do that show, and I was absolutely, it was stunning. You know?
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, these names are not a household name in Indianapolis. What you know them by was what they did, their show. So that's why most of the time we'll say the star of Hamilton, the star of Kinky Boots, the star of, then they
She was
know.
unknown to general audience.
And that's no fault of Indianapolis audiences. Why would they know their names? They're not in New York City seeing their names up on billboards every week. So,
and then you end up seeing them on the Tony Awards later on in their career.
Yes, right. I know. It's so fun when we see people that have been to the Cabaret on the Tony Awards.
You know, time and time again, though, I have seen those people, because I follow the entertainment press, and it's become almost common that so many people play the Cabaret, are on Entertainment Tonight or Access and all those shows, which, I pay attention to. Many of them end up on morning television, on CBS, NBC, and ABC. Sure. So that must warm your heart to know that you have those connections.
It really does. Yeah. We tell this to the audience all the time. A lot of the artists we present don't have to play a small room. They are playing rooms like the Palladium. They are, at least Goldsberry.
Oh, yes.
She
originated Roland Hamilton.
Renee Elise Goldsberry just played at the Palladium, and she performed at the Cabaret many years ago. And so a lot of times they will play at the Cabaret, but they are mostly playing big rooms like that. And those are actually our competition more so than anybody.
Sure.
So they don't have to play small rooms. So for them to play a small room takes a really special kind of person that does want to engage on a human level with their audience. And to see that kind of talent really close is really amazing.
Yeah. I'm sure that people often ask you, so is Feinstein's at the Cabaret, is that your big competition now? Are they taking audiences away from you? So what's your answer to all that? I think that's sort of dissipated, though. People have figured out their different audiences.
I mean, I think this is what we say. There's Lowe's across the street from Home Depot. And our take is if more people are liking this work, and then people might oh, by the way, you might not know there's a Cabaret in Indianapolis if you like Feinstein's and vice versa. And there's a whole group of folks in Carmel that don't necessarily come downtown, right? So everyone's serving their audience. So we don't.
There's crossover too, more and more.
There's some we solely present Cabaret, and Feinstein's doesn't solely present Cabaret. So they present a lot of other things as well.
But what's happened, though, is because of your efforts and their efforts, they have educated people about the Cabaret art form, that it is an art form, and it is separate from musical theater and jazz. Well, although
and gigs. Said, it's just separate from gigs,
It's the experience, that intimate, right in your face kind of storytelling, right?
Yeah, it's just all about how you engage with the audience.
You gifted me with this wonderful book. Do you remember? About the history of Cabaret, basically.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. I learned, as you did, as you began running the Cabaret, that Cabaret's been around a long time. It depends on who you talk to about what they consider what Cabaret.
Exactly.
We're still at a point where people, oh yeah, Cabaret, I saw the movie,
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that true?
That's the hardest thing for us, is for people to be like, what is the Cabaret? What is Cabaret? Still, what is it we're going to see?
Yeah. And so moving forward, any big changes, or is it like, if it's not broken, don't try to fix it? Is your formula working?
Our formula is working, but what we were trying to do, our biggest challenge has really been a staff capacity challenge, especially coming out of the pandemic. So we could only do so much with the staff we had, right? So you can only present what everyone can take on. So we are adding staff this year. So we will have a new chief advancement officer, who is Julie Goodman.
Oh, yes.
So that was the big shakeup this year.
And that's development?
That is the chief advancement officer.
Okay.
So she is going to make a big difference for us to be able to expand our work and once she gets settled in, so that I'll be able to focus a little bit more on the artistic stuff.
And she has this fabulous background in public relations. She was
marketing,
an opera singer.
She's just like the perfect fit, and we're so excited.
She was next door to you at the Arts Council.
She was a partner, so we know each other very well, and so she's making some changes in her life, and they were just at the same time we were making some changes at the Cabaret, and they coincided beautifully. So we're really looking forward. I personally am really looking forward to that, because I've had 3 jobs for many, many years, and I will go down to 2 jobs. So that'll be great. And so that will allow us to have a little more breathing room to expand on our educational offerings and our other offerings as well.
So was there a generous grant from somebody or several people who pulled together to pull that off?
No, we just have been rebuilding after post-pandemic, so rebuilding to the point. We had a development director prior to the pandemic, and then we had to, like everyone, make the staff smaller, when the pandemic happened. So we're rebuilding, but Julie will certainly have a bigger role than just a development director. That's more, second in command. So we're excited to have another leader around at the Cabaret, and she's just going to add so much.
For people who don't know the behind the scenes, and I don't think I even know, how far out do you book? Tell me a little bit about the process. You're continually, it never ends. You look 2 years ahead, or is it 3 for you? Or how long?
Well, it's interesting. We'd like to look 2 or 3 years ahead, but we can't.
That's right.
So,
you need to get Tony winners, or with those who just want them?
Well, the challenge is that we have to get people when they have a window of time that they can perform here. So we found when we were booking too far in advance. So we book about 6 months in advance.
I see.
I'd like to book a year in advance, and we're going to keep working on that. But we also recognize that it has to be a little bit fluid, because all it takes is that one person will get that Broadway show, and they're not going to come to the Cabaret for one night and turn down a Broadway show. So
didn't you educate me one time, though, too, that people it's a chess game for them on their end. Their managers look at their calendar, they try to group them, so if they're out traveling. Yeah, explain that to our audiences.
Yeah, it doesn't happen as much in Broadway artists as it does with jazz artists.
Oh,
but,
I see.
We're trying to get that, but there just aren't enough cabarets to do that.
You still have Columbus. You have sort of
we have a partnership.
Is that a formal partnership, or?
It's been a loose partnership for many years now. I can't even remember when it started. Pam Lego, who is on the board of the Columbus Philharmonic, also works at Cummins and does come to the Cabaret, but lives in Columbus, and said, we want something like this in Columbus, and could you help us by perhaps the artists that come to you could perform one night on Thursdays in Columbus and then come to you. And it's a great idea, because they're not competitive with us. They're a little bit too far for our people. Most people in Indiana don't really want to travel 45 minutes, even though it's nothing in a bigger city like Chicago or New York to do that. But not only is it great because it adds a new cabaret audience in Columbus, but in a very unexpected place, right? But it gives the artists that come an extra show, so it sweetens the pot for them to come here. So we do that with about 4 or 5 artists every year. So we'll say, here's who we're having.
What's it called? Because we were down in Brown County over the weekend, Dustin and me, and he goes regularly to the shopping mall there. What's it called?
Edinburgh. Oh yeah.
So I'm sure people team up.
Yeah.
Let's make an outing of it. Let's shop and see a show.
Well, and Columbus is very close to Bloomington. Yeah, and Columbus is very artistic, and they're really close to Bloomington too. So it's a very artistic area, and they've got a great spot where they do these performances. I'm going to get in trouble for this.
I'm going to share. I've never been to Columbus.
Oh, you'll have to check it out.
I love architecture, and I don't know why, but I just don't.
Well, you should definitely check it out. It's a very cute town, and they've got a lot to offer.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of Indianapolis ties there.
Absolutely.
I mean, the arts there are very vibrant, as I
very vibrant.
It. Yeah.
They have a very big public art scene.
Okay. So I want to spend a little time talking about Shannon Forsell, the citizen. David Forsell, your husband, I've known both of you for years, and David was formerly CEO of Keep Indianapolis Beautiful. as you know, 4 years ago, I moved to Hallville. And 2 years ago, the Keep America Beautiful, this is his legacy. They came through Hallville and planted trees. And they are now beginning to mature.
Isn't it amazing the difference they make?
It's going to be a short time. We're going to have beautiful, these tree-lined streets. So that is a David Forsell legacy.
It means a lot to him, too. Everywhere he's got, that we travel, where they've put trees, which is a lot of places in our city. College Avenue is one of those, too. Mm-hmm. And they're very large trees now. It means so much to him that he had a hand in making a difference there. And now he is the Senior Vice President of Affiliates and Programs for Keep America Beautiful.
And do you mind sharing with our audience who don't know the health problems that David faced for years and how you two managed to survive that and flourish? It's really a cool story.
Oh.
No, really, it is. It would make a great film, actually.
That's amazing. For us, it's just like, this is just our life, so we don't really know that we think it's amazing. It's just what we all deal with. But, Dave has...
It's inspiring.
He's got a rare disease called von Hippel-Lindau, which causes tumors, cancerous tumors, to grow basically everywhere in your body. And then you take them out and more come back. And so he's had 25 surgeries in his life. It's not yet curable. And so he's had a lot of stuff taken out and is down to one kidney. And so, there was really a time when you have that, and he's seen at the National Institutes of Health. And so our mortality, I think that we think deeply about what kind of contributions we can make, I think in part because of mortality being in our faces, possibly more quickly or sooner in our lives than they are for some other folks, right? So we're always living as if it could be our last, And I know that drives him to leave a legacy for sure. And then 2 years ago, they finally found a drug that seems to control the tumors. It's like a chemotherapy drug. And so we're facing a new trajectory in that drug does seem to be working.
So
and
wonderful.
So this year his tests showed it was the first time at any time, actually it makes me emotional talking about it, that they said, everything's stable. Go ahead and go home. And that just doesn't happen. It never happened when we went to the doctor.
You know how many trips you made to suburban Washington, Maryland, right?
Yeah.
Was it Maryland?
Yeah. And before that, it was Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic. And so we say that we vacation in the best places where there's a clinic.
Well, I know you documented it on Facebook. So
yeah, he goes.
So many people have followed your journey in that.
Yeah.
And I know they would be interested in knowing how things turned out.
Yeah. So last year he went through a very, very hard surgery where we thought there could be real trouble and that he might lose his last kidney. And so we were trying to navigate who would give him a kidney and how does that work. And it turned out they were able to save the kidney. But we stopped counting. We have counted surgeries, but not how many times, but twice a year minimum. So that's been 30 years.
The worst and the best.
Yes.
You've had
this
incredible, amazing life as a presenter. And then you've had this other, talk about pathos.
Yeah. I think when you look at it, you have probably too, right? Everyone has their cross to bear, as they say. Everyone has their things they deal with in life, and they often drive the other things they do, right?
Well, in my case, what's been going on with me.
Your own health.
But, here's the thing. I tell people, what keeps me positive? I'm immersed in art. Mm-hmm. How can one be, and like you, when you're going through all of that stuff that you went through, the art that you did, you're leaving your own legacy. And so that had to have helped you to get through this, the distraction, the work, but also just to get that close to that level of talent. How could you not be hopeful?
It's a joy. We're both blessed to have found our personal missions to do and to be able to do that. That's its own gift for us. So that, we couldn't have children because of a series of things on both sides. And so those are kind of our children, our work that we try to do there. But yeah, like you said, you've been dealing with that sense of mortality when you have serious surgeries and all of that too. And it does make you think about how you live.
Oh, yeah.
And how to get joy out of your life and what doesn't matter.
It's interesting, you okay, am I being tested here?
Yeah.
But you also know that we have something similar. We're surrounded by many, many, many people who appreciate what we do. And they have held me up.
Yeah.
And you know what that's like. It's so moving to me.
Yeah. The friendships and the relationships you've created.
I've told people that when you have a friend in trouble, it just gives me a lot of hope that there's still good people in the world.
There are.
They really, really, really do care. That's the good thing about social media. You can get that in real time if you're willing to share it.
You can, you're right.
Yeah, and you did similarly. What I've tried to do is to educate people about, in David's case, and you educate a lot. And just about the process, I think it's really important to educate, inform people about your own personal. They can serve to help people, give them hope.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I do. I do.
It just, but you have to do it in a way that's not self-serving.
Right.
It's a dance, don't you think?
It's definitely a dance.
But I approach it as, that's journalism for one thing, but in your case, you're a storyteller.
We're both, you're a storyteller too.
Yeah.
So
in any case, what do you see in your futures in terms of how long are you going to be on that job?
Right? That's the ultimate question, isn't it?
I'll never retire.
When you're reaching almost 60, right?
Yeah.
And there comes a time when you say, will I know when? And I've told everyone that is around me, you need to let me know when I no longer know what's hip to present, right? Because that's the challenge of a founder, so to speak, that you have to know when it's time for you to go.
I just interviewed the new guest principal conductor of the ISO Pops.
Yeah.
Enrico Lopez Yanez.
Nice.
Oh, he is just, oh my gosh, he's so talented. He has 4 Pops orchestras, one in Nashville, Pacifica, Detroit, and now here. And he loves developing programs. So this weekend I'm going to see him. But anyway, I have a feeling that I don't know, but I feel he's being groomed, and that'll be wonderful.
Sure.
And being that he's Latino, he's dual citizen, Mexican-American.
It's amazing.
And I had him on the show last week, and so his first show, this will probably air way after, but people can listen to my podcast with him, because that's the cool thing about podcasting. You keep it, it's archived.
Yeah.
So if you discover me and you like what you're hearing, then you can go back and look at the site and look at the roster and say, oh wow, Michael Feinstein's on here with Ted Firth, or Marilyn May and Michael Orland. I found out that music directors are the coolest because they have a wealth of stories themselves.
Yeah, they do.
They
really do.
About performing with all of these big names and the behind the scenes. Well, you talk about, their experience alone. I'm sure people don't know that the music directors itself that you bring, these guys are...
They're big-time directors, musical directors,
and they have wonderful stories, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they perform with numerous artists.
And they spread your name around show business community too, don't they?
They do, yeah. They'll suggest people that they work with that we should consider. And it's fun. It all just becomes this, community.
You mentioned a few of your experiences with certain performers, but how about their teams? They all have teams, do they not? Tell me what that's like.
Some have bigger teams than others, and sometimes they're on a tour. So they'll be a much bigger team if they're on a big tour and they're coming to you as one stop in a tour. And sometimes they've even come in on a big, huge tour bus, and have this whole structure going on. Yeah, they have a whole group of folks making it all happen, and we're just one of those stops. And then sometimes they just fly from New York and come to do this particular show. So it really depends on how many musicians are involved and what kind of needs they have as to how many people kind of get involved in the process. But, there's the agent, there's the manager, there's their tour manager if they have one of those, there's their music director, there may be a personal assistant that also helps with things. But a lot of times it's just they show up with their music director, and a lot of that happens beforehand.
All that incredible experience on how to deal with talent.
Oh yeah, it's been a real learning experience. It's a real learning experience, and we still learn things every day.
Do writers, do they operate in cabaret as well?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. The writers are really important.
Give our, because people like to hear these stories about stars that demand that they only have purple M&Ms.
So I will say that is largely, we're not the kind of venue getting those people that are just asking for purple M&Ms.
Come on,
well,
give me the dirt. I'm sure you have some divas.
Mostly the folks that we have is if they ask for huge amounts of alcohol. We had one artist who literally asked for enough for like a stocked bar while they were here, and we're like, no, and we definitely don't want to do that prior to a show anyway for a lot of reasons.
Well, there's a well-known stories in entertainment circles about a certain diva who came to Indianapolis, and she made a big fuss. She had the hotel had to remove her white curtains and put in some other color.
So we had one artist who said, you have to pick me up in a white SUV, and we're like, really? Like, why the white one? And of course our guy drives a black SUV. We haven't had very many of those. Our complaint usually is more when they don't tell us what they need, because we want to give them what they need to be able to just get up there. If it's a certain brand. And so sometimes a writer will say they want this particular type of energy water, and then they'll get here and they'll say, I only drink the peach. Well, of course, that's the one we don't have, right? So,
but do you have someone on stand who will run over to the 7-Eleven?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. When we had one artist that said, I'll only have the peach. I can't even remember the name of the brand, and it was post-pandemic, and this is what they also didn't understand. So it was not long after the pandemic. So it was made by Pepsi-Cola, and it turns out that particular flavor was back, you couldn't buy it anywhere. Yeah. We literally called Pepsi-Cola to ask them where we might be able to get it.
So how political does it get when people want to meet the stars, the meet and greets? That can really be, for you sometimes, very political, very sensitive.
It's very sensitive only because we would love it if everybody could see them. But the challenge are the artists, and people don't realize, this is the thing that people don't realize. We don't make the rules as to who does and doesn't get to meet them. They do.
Yeah.
So they will tell us, no, we will not meet anyone, or yes, we'll only meet the sponsors for the evening, or we'll only meet 20 people. So they really dictate who gets to see the artist. And they've learned from their professional
experience what to avoid.
Yeah, and they know what they need. So some will do, most don't want to do anything before the show, but some want, we had in our, Titus was 2 days before, I'd like the VIP reception now to be before the show, and we're scrambling around trying to see if we can get people to come before as opposed to after. Well, that's an unusual thing.
So he doesn't like to talk people after he's exhausted.
So he
I don't think people understand that. How exhausting a 90-minute show can be for a performer, and then to be expected to be
still be on. And if people are, I think it all depends too on how, so we have all these rules, they're cordoned off, and people can't just come and be in their face kind of. So they get overstimulated just like anyone else, right? If people are coming at them and they don't know them and they're strangers, and so it's a very orchestrated thing.
How do you deal with the entitled people? Excuse me, do you know who I am?
We do have those. Well, we just tell them exactly what I'm saying. We're not dictating these rules. The artist dictates this. So
it's a dance.
It's hard because all our people want to see all of them, and they're all generous to us. So we used to, you remember this, Tom, it used to be that everyone got to meet the artist after the show. And now, since the pandemic, they won't do it. They just don't want to do it.
And some are just really approachable. It's not a big deal. It's just bring them in.
Yeah. there are.
And I love those performances. You know, I'm name dropping, but Liz Calloway and Ann Hampton Calloway are on this podcast. It's like really a get for me. It's like rare that they're together.
Yeah.
But they talked about Liz more so. I don't think Ann, you ever booked her, did you?
No, we never had Ann.
Well, Liz was one of your very first.
Yeah.
I remember she was sitting at the table at the connoisseur room.
Yep.
First home. And that's where I met her, and she couldn't have been sweeter.
Most of them are that way, really.
Yeah.
They're that way. Almost everyone is that way.
They realize that it's the fans who made this happen for me, and I owe them everything. You know?
Well, and sometimes it's not even that they don't want to do it because they're tired. Sometimes they have a 5 a.m. flight.
Yeah.
Or they have things they have to wrap up, or it's a logistical problem for them. Or they're sick, or they don't want to get sick because they have, we had an artist who didn't want to do it because on Monday they started a new rehearsal for a brand new Broadway show, and they couldn't miss the show if they got sick. So there's a lot of complexities to having a bunch of people meeting them.
Shannon, from the beginning, did you have a vision of creating, all the stuff we talked about what you wanted this brand? Were you thinking that far ahead that you were going to I'm going to create a brand?
Well, this happened very fast. I mean, I was told in December that we were going to have to restructure the whole thing and have our first show in March. So I would like to say that at the beginning I had all these visions. I did have a vision, but to really have it come into focus took a little bit of a time. But our vision was always to create something that was really special with a really, really high caliber of talent that people don't get to see as often.
That's an artistic vision, but did you also have a business vision that's part of it, to create?
Well, I believed that business vision would work if they were seeing something that they felt was. So that's why we chose to make it nonprofit, because it's like the symphony or a ballet.
And I understand that your model is being copied and has been copied. Is that true?
Yeah.
I talked to Liz about that. What's the state of cabaret? And I mentioned, how I said, you guys are in the business and you get booked so what is your knowledge of where we are right now? Are there venues failing? And she says, yes, continually,
all the time.
New ones are popping up.
Yeah, 54 Below, which is one of the biggest cabarets in New York, just recently became a nonprofit.
She said that.
Yeah.
She told me that.
So they've become a nonprofit too.
Yeah.
I'd love to share how we did it with as many people as I can, because the business model doesn't work unless you are a nonprofit, I don't think.
But aren't you part of these cabaret associations? Are such things in existence? No?
There's no one telling us how to do it. We're all just kind of on our own, and there aren't enough people.
Me.
So we talk to each other, but there's no formal group.
Do you think it seems to me, my common sense tells me that would be very helpful for everybody in business?
It would be very helpful. We have helped a lot of people get started doing it. We helped Cabaret 313 in Michigan do one, and
how are they doing?
Columbus. They're doing great. They're doing great. So we all talk to each other, and a lot of people helped me when I got started. So this small group of people talk to each other and say, who are you having and who are you having? And a new one just started in Napa called Broadway and Vine, and they do their cabarets in vineyards in Napa. That's a sweet job he figured out. So he figured out a great business model out there. And so we talk to each other, but it's not a formal group.
So
it should be.
So cabaret is alive and well.
It is.
That's wonderful.
I think it is.
And, you developed quite a reputation. I want my 10%. I remember writing about you and calling the brick top of Indianapolis.
That's right. You've done so many amazing things for us over the years and said so many wonderful things. We've used your quotes a million times.
But the thing is, for those who don't know, brick top was a Parisian host, and she had her own club, did she not?
Yes.
And she presented people like Josephine Baker and Edith Piaf.
But she herself was very present, and I think that's probably the.
And she had a head of red hair. That's where,
Well, and I think that is what we try to create, and a feeling of you have been invited to our cocktail party, and so when you do come, you do see me, and you do see the staff, and
I've seen you work worth the room, honey.
So we try to like have it feel like
Shannon,
you're here at our place.
You give the best curtain speeches. You've been doing it for so long, but you're an entertainer yourself. So the way you present, it's very unusual. I think from my point of view, clubs like the Cabaret, they survive because you set the tone.
Yeah,
You
I
set
think
people at ease.
a tone is true.
You kind of underplay yourself often. You're always deflecting. And I think that's kind of like people just see you as just being very approachable. And
That's
I think
nice.
that counts for,
I hope so.
I think that counts for, and with your performers, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure I would be surprised if a lot of those people haven't become your friends.
Well, and I think that is maybe the difference between us and some other organizations, because I was a performer. And this is what Titus Burgess said. He said, it's clear that this place was created also for the artist. Mm-hmm. So we make sure that we take such good care of them so that they are put in their best light. Mm-hmm. We've given them everything they need. We've given them this beautiful room and this beautiful stage, so they just do their work. Mm-hmm. And they're not trying to overcome a lot of negatives before they ever get on the stage. Bad sound or bad lights or not getting what they needed to prepare. So we try to make it so they're not thinking of anything except their performance.
Well, that's wonderful, because you, in fact, are doing service.
That's what we really hope that we are. Mm-hmm. We use this phrase called radical hospitality at the Cabaret, and we want that to be radical hospitality.
Wow.
So where we hope, when we're doing it right, everybody messes up at times, right, and can't meet the mark. But our goal is to try to have radical hospitality at every turn.
So do you regret now we're reaching for the golden ring?
You mean as a performer?
As a performer.
No.
Why?
Because I knew I loved performing, but it also stressed me out. Because at my heart, I'm a little bit of an introvert. As much as it seems like I'm an extrovert, I also need plenty of time to rejuvenate. And I don't need performing to feel... There's so many things that bring me joy and make me happy. And the lifestyle of a performer and being your own product was difficult.
You don't need to have your ego fed.
Not that way. I'm sure I do. We all do, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I had a relationship that's amazing, which is very hard to have if you're really trying to go for it.
And I would say that David keeps you grounded, too.
Totally.
And your family.
Totally.
I've met your family.
Yeah, totally keeps me grounded. And so I have a full life without that. So it wasn't, like I said, it just wasn't something I knew if I didn't need it, I shouldn't try to do it full time, because it's a tough life.
Do you still do it a bit here and there?
I don't do it as much because it takes so much to... Now, we'll see if that changes after Julie joins us for a little while. But because I see what I see on my own stage, I think, how could I even remotely compare to that?
I don't know.
But
I put on my producer's hat, and I think about the show that you could do with the stories you could tell.
So I think if I have more time, but also I'm, you know me, that I'm a perfectionist. And so for me to get back up there again, it's a lot of work to keep your voice. It's like a muscle. If you're not doing it all the time, it's not with you in the same way. So for me to really put on something that big, I feel like it has to be really, really great. And so I need to have a bit of time to do that. So I'm not saying no, but I haven't had that.
And for those who've known you from the beginning, let's remember and shout out to the original repertory company, if you will, Peggy Chambers and Brenda. Tell me,
Monica Cantrell.
What's happened to them?
So Brenda is still performing all over. She's an amazing talent, still performing. Monica Cantrell, who was one of the originals, had moved and now is back in Indianapolis and is performing back in Indianapolis. And Bob Motz is retired, so he's no longer performing. And Jerry Panettiere still works for Claude McNeil, as does Jeff.
And for those who don't know, Claude has a new company. It has for a while. Yeah.
His Claude McNeil Productions. And they just opened a place on Delaware.
Oh, they have.
A venue on Delaware.
Wow.
So check that out, And
what's it called?
I'm blanking out.
Okay, and they do.
It might be called Claude McNeil
Cabaret?
Productions. They do shows like American Cabaret Theater
I
used to do.
see.
They do his productions.
Original stuff.
Yeah, they do the kind of work that he still did. In fact, he just did a version of the Hoagie Cole show that we had done. So he's doing the core work he used to do at American Cabaret Theater. And Peggy Chambers passed
with
away.
Heron in some way?
I don't know.
I saw some shows he presented.
I don't think he is anymore.
Pippin was a Heron. I thought maybe they had a partnership.
I don't think he's there anymore, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay, so I want to leave with your, and I typically ask this because I want to develop a young audience so they can hear all of these artists, and I like to pull back the curtains and have the artists talk about, behind the scenes. What you see is glitz and glamour, but what does it take to get there? But please share with any young people who would be listening who are attracted to performing and give them some pointers about what they should be concentrating right now.
If they want to be a performer? Yeah. So I think first kind of know what your field of performing is. Are you trying to be on Broadway, or are you trying to do popular music, those kinds of things, because there are different paths. If you have education, you can do all of those paths, but that will help you, guide you to know what other skills you may need to have. Obviously, if you're going to be on Broadway, you have to be able to dance and act, and some other forms of music, you don't have to also be able to do those things per se. Find a really great support system to help you get through that. Obviously, it's easy if you get, it's helpful if you can get into a program. Like Ball State has a wonderful program for which helps get them in the door. It helps them. These showcases help have directors and music directors see them, and helps so they're not just trying to figure that stuff out on their own, or find really network with folks that are doing it to have them help you introduce you to the network that you have. And you got to just really get a tough skin. I would say really be able to be strong, and I would say do some kind of yoga or therapy so that you can know that
that's actually a really great piece.
Yeah, you have to really I think with this career, you have to really care for your mental health, because it can really go off the rails quite quickly if you don't have a solid foundation within yourself.
Well, so many people choose substances to deal with deal with all.
Right. Mm-hmm. And and in that field especially, that can happen. So if you have a way to say that I'm not defined by the audition I didn't get or the show I didn't get, because it has so little to do with you most of the time. Mm-hmm. So you really have to get solid in yourself, but you have to also be extremely dedicated to it.
And for those who are sitting at home, what can you tell them about? Come to the cabaret.
Come to the cabaret. Yes. So if so many people still do not know the cabaret exists, because marketing has changed so much, and you know this. We used to be able to look at the Let's Go section in Indy Star, and everyone looked at it, and that's where everything was listed, and that's how everybody figured out what they were doing. And now, we don't even know. Everyone doesn't even know how to reach everybody.
We've thrown that out. We talk about, we can't do it because there's something going on at this time. So
Yeah. So I would say, if you've never been, check out our website, thecabaret.org. Mm-hmm. All of our artists are on there. All of our shows are different, so I can't say that it's going to be the same experience for you every time you come.
There's a lot of video on there, too.
So it has videos of the performers, so you can see, is this my bag? Is this other thing maybe more my bag? But the experience of the room cannot be denied. It's very beautiful space, a special
Hollywood
space.
Glamour.
Yeah,
retro Hollywood, New York glamour.
Yeah, we just think it's retro Hollywood with sort of a modern twist to it. So everyone should feel comfortable in there. It's very accessible.
I said Hollywood, New York, but it's really Hollywood, more so.
Well, but it has a feeling of a New York room and Hollywood glamour.
Yeah,
and
that's what. Okay,
also too.
Right,
yeah,
right,
so you're right.
Yeah.
And so you can have drinks, you can have food. You're sitting with the people you came with. You're not in a row.
You can get dressed up, or you need to come dressed down.
Yeah. Everybody should feel comfortable being exactly who they are. And It's a cross between, the easiest way to describe it without a really long definition, which, as you know, Tom, is hard to describe what cabaret is in a short sentence, is it's a cross between theater and a nightclub. So you have the approachability of the nightclub, but you definitely want to watch the show.
You know why I was drawn to cabaret? It's because of the old black and white Hollywood films. Everybody would get gussied up and they'd have these glamorous rooms.
Yeah.
And food. And, you know, I was a blue-collar kid, but I'd watch these old...
It's magic.
Yeah. Oh, glamour, you know. These floor shows, right?
And if you're a fan of these kinds of artists, to be able to see them within a feet of you is really... amazing.
It can be life-changing.
It is. You really, I mean...
Like seeing Cheetah Rivera right there, this legend.
Yeah, and you start thinking about all the stuff they've done, and they're just right there talking to you. And just to see the awe-inspiring... When you see an awe-inspiring talent, you can't put your finger on it.
And to hear someone like a Brooke Shields up there who knew everybody, and still does.
Yeah.
And she
talking about Michael Jackson and stuff, you know.
I mean, the dish was just like, oh my God.
Yeah, you really are an insider in their world.
It's it can be rarefied, once in a lifetime experience.
And I think what's magical for a lot of people is that you get to see these people as themselves, not as the characters they portray. So Titus Burgess, people expected him to be a big, flamboyant gay guy, like he plays a lot on TV, and he's not that way in his real show. So you get to see this side of them that's much more real.
Yeah. So who's coming up?
So I don't have that all tied away yet. Okay. So we'll be announcing that
your next season.
The next season. But coming up now.
Yeah.
So Adrienne Warren, who won the Tony for Tina the Musical, is coming up. So she played Tina Turner, handpicked by Tina Turner herself to play Tina.
Wow.
And she's been in other Broadway works as well. And she's about to be on Broadway again in Jason Robert Brown's revival of Last 5 Years.
Oh, God.
So she's coming up in 2 weeks. We have IU Soul Review is a new education partner for us. So they're going to do like what Ball State does with IU, and they're the longest running African-American performance group. And so they're coming next week.
Is this your first partnership with IU?
This is our first partnership with IU. And they're going to be here Friday.
They've got an incredible theater.
They're amazing. And this IU Soul Review is just ridiculous talent.
You know, Magic the Cabaret did a master class. And we invited the senior class of last year's musical theater department. They were all headed to New York within weeks.
Yeah, it's amazing. And these master classes are amazing to see. And then Anna Gasteyer's coming at Christmas.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you so much for being on the show and what you've done for this community, what you've done for cabaret, what you've done for all kinds of people. And I want to thank you personally. You're one of those people who reached out to me on Facebook. And you'll never know what that meant to me.
Oh, my gosh. Well, you're welcome. But also, I want to thank you because, as we have been talking about, our history is long from all the iterations of Shannon Forsell. And you have supported me personally and the cabaret as well and all of the arts. And there's so few people covering even the arts. And it's such an amazing service for the arts and the community. So thanks for continuing to do that work because it's not easy work to market the arts.
I believe that is my purpose.
Yeah.
All right?
Yep.
Okay, well, I will see you up the road. And it's always so cool to drive downtown and see that sign because it symbolizes so much, you know?
Yeah.
And the Deco logo?
It's a Deco.
Yeah. Okay, well, good luck.
Thank you.
And I'll see you soon, hopefully.
I hope so.
All right.
Our thanks go out to our media sponsor, Urban Times. Urban Times is a monthly news magazine which serves as the official neighborhood newsletter for 16 Indianapolis neighborhoods, offering news about development, arts and entertainment, and from the business community.
Who will take center stage on the podcast next? Your seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez awaits. Follow Tom on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and make sure to visit tomalvarez.studio. Watch Tom every other Thursday on Lifestyle Live on Wish TV And make sure to listen every week here on the All Indiana Podcast Network.